actually called and they said I do not.
That this would be done better somewhere else.
On July 20th, 2022, in Rockville Center, New York, an encounter unfolded. Two determined vegan activists, peacefully advocating on a public sidewalk, were confronted by a Rockville Center police officer. This incident, emblematic of a clash between civil liberties and law enforcement's understanding of them, was captured on film. The officer, identified as Officer Smith, challenged the protesters' right to demonstrate without a permit, sparking a significant legal debate. Officer Smith approaches the duo, firmly stating the necessity for a demonstration permit. The protesters, equipped with their own research, counter his claim. They explained that a call to town hall confirmed no permit was required for their small-scale, non-obstructive protest. Their stance is clear. They believe they are fully compliant with local laws.
I'm not saying you're obstructing traffic. I'm not saying any of that, you know.
So what, on the grounds of what would you
Well, I'm going to follow up.
Please. Okay. All right.
And
We'll be here.
come back and give you a better answer. All right? Now you just sit tight.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
The officer, faced with this unexpected response, finds himself at a crossroads. The protesters' confidence in their legal standing presents a challenge to his initial assertion. Seeking to navigate this complex situation, Officer Smith decides to consult his supervisor. This move signifies a moment of uncertainty in law enforcement's interpretation of ordinances versus the protesters' understanding of their First Amendment rights. Here, in the heart of Rockville Center, a seemingly routine police interaction morphs into a pivotal moment. It reflects not just a singular dispute over permit requirements, but a larger narrative about civil liberties and the nuances of lawful protest. As tension escalates, Officer Smith reiterates the need for a permit, his tone growing firmer. Yet, the protesters, unwavering, challenge him to cite the specific ordinance they're allegedly violating.
Demonstrate without a permit. I just explained that to you, but I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody to get in trouble over this. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, like I said. I don't want you to get in trouble over this. It's silly, you know what I mean?
Can you have your captain come here?
Well, no, there's no captains, number one. All right, number two, we have a more serious matter going on right now in the village.
What's happening? Well, then why you're
I'm not
here?
going to disclose that to you because that's not your business.
Well, yeah, then I guess you should
But
carry
right now,
on.
that's the scenario. You have to pack it up and, you know, call village hall, ask for a permit, go through the motions of doing that, and then you can come back here and do what you got to do. Well, I have no problem with that. You give me a permit that says you're allowed to be here and do this.
But they said that I didn't need one, so that's why.
This request seems simple, but is fraught with legal implications. The officer, caught off guard, scrambles for an answer, highlighting a gap in his understanding of the local laws governing public demonstrations. The exchange grows more intense. The protesters, armed with knowledge and confidence, stand their ground. They argue that their right to peaceful assembly should not be hindered by unclear or non-existent permit requirements. This standoff isn't just about a permit. It's a test of constitutional rights against the enforcement of potentially misunderstood local laws. Officer Smith, unable to reference a relevant law that mandates a permit for such a small, peaceful gathering, finds himself in a predicament. His authority is questioned, not through aggression, but through informed civil discourse. Rockville Center's ordinances on permits become the focal point. The town's laws stipulate conditions for larger events.
I understand that this may not be the best for everybody. I don't care what you do it. I understand the situation, but, you know, fine. You want to hold the sign, that's fine. But you're in front of somebody's business, right? Like,
We already spoke with them.
who's that?
The
Then why
business.
the business call me?
Like, I don't understand what the issue is. No matter how they feel about it, they need to be spoken up for, and we're not doing
I'm not
anything
saying that.
wrong.
I'm not saying that, all right?
Because did you get a code for what we're actually?
We're gonna
yeah,
come.
okay.
We are going to write the tickets we need to write.
Because
Look, we're just trying to do our job.
right, and we're trying to do our job.
Keep the peace. That's
Like block parties or festivals, requiring permits to ensure public safety and order. However, these laws do not explicitly mandate permits for small, peaceful demonstrations like the one in question. This distinction is crucial and forms the crux of the protesters' argument. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to free speech, peaceful assembly, and the petitioning of the government. Supreme Court cases, such as United States v. Grace and Hague v. Committee for Industrial Organization, have consistently upheld these rights, especially in public forums.
When we asked for a code, I explained the situation.
Okay, we don't deal with this every day. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
We're in the village of Rockville Center.
Oh, welcome.
All right, you do this every day.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you've been shut down in different places for different reasons,
No,
correct?
we have the freedom of speech. It's in America 2022.
I fully understand that.
And people fought for the right, and now we.
Some people have the right, some people don't.
Yeah, and in America, I do.
I didn't say you didn't. Okay.
Well,
Again.
if we do, then we do. If we don't, then we don't.
There's limits to everything. All right, if you had something that was not.
This is my vehicle.
know,
This is my body.
Yes.
Like sidewalks or parks. These rulings assert that peaceful, non-obstructive gatherings in public spaces do not typically require government approval. The requirement of a permit for a small-scale protest, as suggested by Officer Smith, thus walks a fine line in constitutional interpretation. Imposing such a requirement could potentially infringe upon the fundamental First Amendment rights. This raises significant legal questions. At what point does a peaceful demonstration necessitate a permit? Does requiring a permit for small protests undermine the essence of free speech and assembly?
I thought you didn't want to do semantics.
Right. I don't.
So then why would you ask that question? You have access to a dictionary?
And so do you. Okay. But the law is different. This is not against the law that I practice.
Everything that Adolf Hitler did was perfectly legal.
Okay.
And
We
the
don't
police.
live there. We don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, but what's the difference between putting Jews in a gas chamber and putting pigs in a gas chamber when it's both against their will, they value their life, and they feel pain?
Ma'am.
Should we not speak up against them?
Assessing Officer Smith's conduct through the lens of the First Amendment reveals complex implications. His insistence on a permit, despite the absence of a clear legal basis, raises concerns about potential First Amendment retaliation. This situation could be perceived as an attempt to suppress speech through official authority, a practice scrutinized under constitutional law. Moreover, this incident touches on the concept of a heckler's veto. This occurs when an individual's right to free speech is curtailed to prevent a potentially negative reaction by others.
What you're saying is I'm trying to approach you guys as other people on the same planet to make a mutual agreement that maybe we can move this along.
So you have an agreement with Cabo because if it's an establishment, they called you and told us to move.
Look at all these places.
So if we move over to the corner, then it's okay.
You're a neutral party.
Wants to see this
So
right
then
now?
we can move
Do you
to the
think
corner?
Do you think this guy wants to see it?
This is why this happens behind brick walls, because no one wants to face the reality. And this is why when they are...
People have choice. They choose to eat.
They choose to murder other animals. They choose to molest children, and it's wrong, and people need to speak up against the violence.
Very different things.
By suggesting the need for a permit ostensibly for public order, the officer's actions could be seen as giving undue weight to hypothetical dissenters, potentially silencing lawful expression. Such actions, if interpreted as prioritizing public convenience over fundamental rights, can be viewed as infringing upon the constitutional guarantee of free speech and peaceful assembly. This delicate balance between maintaining public order and upholding civil liberties is at the heart of this encounter.
As of right now, for as long as you've been here.
Okay.
You're not personally impeding a personal traffic. If you're up, I'm going to be here for a long time. So if you end up running up to people with the sign and making them look at it, do it when they're trying to walk by you, we might have an issue then. But if you're just standing here,
Peace.
your sign speaking for itself, I'm leaving you alone.
Okay.
That's
So we're not
agreeable?
breaking any codes, is what you're
Currently
saying.
you're not. But again, you're a moving person.
I'm
You're a
a-
speaking person.
Yes.
Things change. They're fluid.
Okay.
Right? Okay?
Officer Smith and his team eventually acknowledge the protesters' legal standing. This acknowledgement, albeit delayed, highlights a resilience of constitutional protections in practice. However, the incident's initial misstep opens the door to potential legal actions against the officers. The protesters could pursue claims of First Amendment infringement, given the initial attempts to restrict their peaceful assembly based on a misunderstood application of local laws. This episode reverberates beyond the streets of Rockville Center, impacting public perception. It serves as a reminder of the delicate interplay between protest rights and police responsibilities. While the officers' eventual concession aligns with legal norms, the journey to this resolution highlights the need for ongoing education and awareness among law enforcement regarding civil liberties.
This case highlights a fundamental aspect of civil liberties. Even well-intentioned law enforcement actions must align with constitutional protections to ensure justice and fairness. At its core, this incident teaches us the value of informed citizenship and vigilant protection of our rights. It's a poignant reminder that understanding and respecting constitutional freedoms are crucial for both citizens and law enforcement.